The Trump administration's Department of Education will resume collecting federal student loans in default on May 5th, ending a pandemic-era pause that began roughly 5 years ago. It's a move that will impact at least 5 million borrowers immediately. The Biden administration resumed payments on federal student loans in 2023, but the Education Department hasn't collected on defaulted loans since March of 2020. The starts and the stops have created some confusion.
With the long pause on payments, as well as that on-ramp after the repayment pause, there has just been a lot of borrowers who are not used to the repayment landscape.
Okay, so joining me now is Nick Huntington-Klein, assistant professor with the Department of Economics at Seattle University. Thanks for coming on today. Hopefully we can explain this to people.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. All right, let's get right to the how is this money going to be collected?
So there are a number of ways that they could be collecting the money. You could just start repaying your loans if you are in default on your loans. But also the thing that's being added now is that they are going to be able to go into collections on these loans, which has not been happening. So that will include things like wage garnishments, which could be up to 15% of income for those who are in collections. It could also include if you are eligible for certain federal money, you might have some of that federal money taken away. It's also something that is on the table for recollecting these loans.
Tax returns for one, right? Something like that?
Exactly.
What if somebody's not working? Let's say somebody's still in school.
So if somebody's still in school or working, there is an income-based repayment option. So there has been for a while the ability to sign up for an income-based repayment option in order to cap the amount of your repayment at a certain percentage of your income. That was taken away several months ago. It has been since reinstated, but in a much less generous form. Whereas before, you might expect that you might be able to cap your payments at somewhere between 5 and 10% of your income. The renewed version is looking at somewhere between 10 to 20% of your income, depending on the form. And also now it also includes your spouse's income as part of that, whereas it did not before.
Gotcha. I don't want to bog people down with too many numbers, but I wanted to share a few and then kind of get your take on some advice for people who might be in this situation. I was reading today, it's like we're talking 43 million borrowers who owe $1.6 trillion. Roughly 62% are not currently paying them back right now, and 5 million of those, and we mentioned this, are in default, meaning they haven't paid in 9 months. Those are the ones that we're talking will be collected immediately, right?
That's correct. So everyone who is currently either current on their loan or have had less than 9 months of missed payments, they are not currently in collections. And so they will be paying through the regular system. What's changing now is people who are delinquent on their loans by more than 9 months, they'll be going into collections. So that's the 5 million who are currently in that state, as well as 4 million people who are sort of headed there. They're not quite there yet.
And this comes after roughly $200 billion in forgiveness under the Biden administration. Does that play into how we got here? I mean, I know there are a couple of things that we talked about, the starting and the stopping of this, but if I'm watching other people get their loans repaid, I might not repay mine, thinking that might just, maybe I'm going to hold out to see how far that forgiveness goes.
It's possible. It is entirely possible that some people have not been repaying their loans in the hopes that they would get forgiven at some point. There's also just administrative issues. A lot of the private loan servicers have, during the pause, when they're not actually actively collecting payments from people, lost track of those people. And so some people have been not paying their loans, partially because their loan provider does not know how to contact them. And that has been an issue as the Biden administration's tried to restart payments back in 2023. And it has been an issue as they've looked at, as the government has looked at the possibility of restarting collections. So we're not actually sure how many of those 5 million people who are in collections are reachable.
Okay, so we are, 11 days out now. If I'm one of those people who has an outstanding debt, what's your advice?
So it is going to be requiring a lot more money of you. They have the ability, if they are in contact with you, to garnish your wages, to take money out of your tax return, things like that. You can get yourself out of this position. Granted, that means you have to restart repaying your loans. You have to repay it for 9 months in a row in order to get yourself off of this list effectively. And then they no longer have the ability to garnish your wages.
But there must be some sort of way to make that an affordable payment, right? Contact your lender.
Yes, there is. You can apply with the government for an income-based repayment plan, which would cap the amount that you'd have to pay at a certain percentage of your income. Although granted, that is less generous than it was before.
Going to be hearing a lot of stories in the coming weeks. Nick Huntington-Klein from Seattle. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.